Yeah, my name is Nils. I'm one of the co-founders and CEOs of DigiFarm. We're an ag tech startup based in Norway and also located here in Marbella, Spain now. Maybe a personal background, but I left Norway when I was 17. I went to America, I went to college, and then I met my current wife who was living in London. She didn't want to come to Florida, so we moved to Norway, and then I took over the family farm in 2014, which is just an hour northeast of Oslo. It's a small kind of family farm. We had 150 hectares of crop and forestry, and I didn't have much agronomy experience. So for me, it was really just getting deep into it to learn on the go. And I started DigiFarm in 2019, so a few years after I started, or after I took over the farm. And it really arose from my own personal kind of experiences and kind of hurdles, I guess, in this precision ag industry. We work in a very specific area of digital agriculture. It's using remote sensing or satellite data to build AI models to be able to supply agriculture intelligence to enterprise clients. The concept started in 2019, and we work in a very two core problems, I think, or challenges in agriculture, and it's the first is field boundaries. So boundaries is the key fundamental data layer for any precision ag service or in-field analytics, large or small. Today, farmers are still having to draw these manually into digital maps, which are typically outdated and old, and over time we end up with this very large, inaccurate and outdated data set. And it's a friction point for farmers because you need it for anything, right? You need it for variable rate stuff. You want to do a prescription map for variable rate fertilizer, seeds, crop protection. You want to do soil sample, subsidy declaration, insurance, and you're having to do the digitalization and manual kind of process in all these different devices. So I think we look at agriculture that it's a pretty traditional industry, of course, and probably one of the more fragmented ones. You have lots of different services for farmers, and a lot of this operates in data silos, right? Like you have stuff that doesn't get transferred to other data systems to build these end services. So for us, we focus on a very core thing of automating this very fundamental part of the agriculture value chain. So what we do is we take Sentinel-2 data, which is the highest publicly freely available satellite optical data from European Space Agency, and we increase the resolution. So we do something called super resolution on it, from 10 meter to 1 meter, using AI, and then we build another model to be able to automatically detect the field boundaries and seeded acres. And we look at basically vegetation data. So the satellite data is able to look at biomass for a particular plant, and then we delineate that particular zone. And then we put it in an API and we deliver it to clients. So, now 80% of our clients are enterprise clients, so agribusinesses, and 20% are governments. So that's the core basics. But today there's 60 employees or 62 employees of DigiFarm. We're a pretty remote team, pretty technical team. So we have our headquarters is in Oslo, Norway, but the majority of the team are GIS developers or engineers, so geographic information system engineers, and data scientists and full stack engineers. And we launched commercially in March 2022. So last year was our first kind of commercial year. We have 55 clients globally, over 17 countries. And the majority of them are ministries of agriculture, as I mentioned, is 20%, and then we work with all kind of the bigger seed companies like Bayer Crop Science, Syngenta, Yara, ICL, and different ones. I actually went to high school in Marbella at EIC, English International College, which is on the other side of town, and my wife also went to the same school, actually. We overlap, but we met at a reunion 10 years after I graduated, but so we always had a connection here. My wife's family's here, and I think we just wanted to be able to spend some time in the warmer place, to be honest, and it's a beautiful place. So, I've been going back and forth, of course, because of the farm, but I think it's just a really, really nice environment. We love the pool. For us, it's a perfect work environment for us. Yeah, so I think originally it was personal reasons, and as it is, we see the kind of professional environment growing here in Marbella, which is also nice for us to see. As well that I sit across from somebody who's very closely connected in the ag tech industry too, so it's a small world, I think. You wouldn't maybe imagine Marbella be kind of a hub for different verticals, but it's really interesting. So as you mentioned, I sit across from Matti, who's also here at the pool and has been in the ag tech industry for a while, and when we started chatting, we realized that we have a lot of the same connections. Ag tech is a relatively small industry, but the ability, the the accidental or coincidental circumstance of having same industry partners or same connections is very rare, I think. So we've really bonded over that, and I think, you know, there's lots to be said about the collaborative and synergies that can grow out of these relationships you build here. So for us, it's that part's been great for sure. So how do I feel about Marbella meeting all the kind of criteria for us on a professional level? I think, you know, Marbella has changed a lot over the last few years. Certainly when I went to high school here, it's changed a lot, you know. I think it's a lot more professional environment, and it's great to see businesses and kind of, I think what you tend to see is upper management coming here, you know, and then kind of bringing maybe core people or core teams of the organization they're running. And first of all, I'm loving the collaborative effort or the collaborative synergies we're getting here at the pool, of course, as I mentioned to you with Matti and other people. And at a personal level, of course, you know, the kids are loving it, my wife's loving it. But I think it just ticks those boxes. Now, you know, DigiFarm is a remote company already, so for us it wasn't a big feat to come here and do what we do online. You know, I still travel quite a bit, and Malaga's become great for kind of connecting flights and different places to go. So, and this goes back also to the history of DigiFarm. We started just before Corona or COVID, and we need a very specific skill set of people we were hiring on the engineering side. And that was just difficult to find in Norway. So immediately we started looking outside Norway, and that's kind of how we built the core team. And I think just ability, or the fact that we started remote and we're still continuously doing that today, just adds to the ability for us to be here in Marbella. Yeah, I was one of the first members of the pool, and you reeled me in, Christian. I think there was a lack for sure, which you guys probably identified that there was something needed in Marbella. I was going through different places of, like, you know, going to a co-working space in like the polygonal Marbella, and like it just wasn't working out. So I was working from my bedroom, you know, for over a year, I think. And then I was at the Regis, you know, which also didn't fit the bill for us. So I was very excited when you were going to open and couldn't wait. And it's probably been better than I thought I would originally imagine, right? The space is great, people are wonderful, and yeah, I couldn't be more excited to be here, be a part of the pool. Yeah, it's a good question. The advice I would give to a younger self, I suppose. I think I was pretty naive when I started DigiFarm. I think it's probably good to be naive because you don't realize how hard it's going to be and how long it's going to take. Core thing is just speaking to clients, right? Figuring out that somebody wants to buy your product, getting good product market fit. But it's always going to take longer. It's always going to take more money. And it's always going to be more difficult, I think, is what I've learned for sure. So you just got to be ready for that journey, I think. Lots of ups and downs, but it's rewarding, right? So, and you got to be persistent to make it work, I think. Key is to learn from your mistakes and just be able to pivot and adapt. Every phase of a startup has its different challenges. You know, we went through just building product and it was cool, and then you kind of go into a scale-up phase where you need to build an organization and you need like management and structures and processes and HR, and we were definitely not ready for that, and we're still, you know, learning. But I think building the right team from the beginning is probably one of the core things, you know, and we did that on a technical level. I think now we're doing more on the commercial and finance side, which is, you know, just a adaptation of a process, but startups need clients and money, so, you know, focus on those two things to begin with for sure.